Let's get sweaty.
Hey guys, welcome to another Shenmue Dojo video. Today I want to talk about Shenmue 4 and how it can be sold. So specifically, I am looking at a digital future versus obviously the physical copies of games that we can obviously get currently at the moment. You probably see behind me I am a bit of an advocate of physical games, but I'm wanting to try and balance out whether that is the most profitable way potentially for Shenmue 4 to make money. So as people will know at the moment, digital games, the sale of games digitally is very much in the gaming news at the moment. You'll see it in gaming articles, on Twitter, wherever you get your gaming news. It's very prevalent at the moment. There's two titles that are coming out currently that are going digital only. Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, is certainly digital only in the West with a physical release in Japan only. And Alan Strange 2 is also currently a digital only game. So there's been quite a lot of furore over social media about whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. Lots of people are upset about it. And I wanted to sort of pick up on that topic and look into and break down whether going digital only for Shenmue 4 is a good idea. I am taking this from the view of somebody who is an advocate for physical games. Disclaimer as well, I don't work in the games industry. Some people get a bit upset about that, it seems. And so I've done some research around this. If I've missed anything, any points that what you want to raise, do it in the comments below. I will try and pick them up either via comments or another video as we go. So why go digital only? Let's break this idea down. Let's compare essentially a physical release with a digital release, and we'll do some rough sort of maths on this as well. So having read some of the articles and research out there, games that are sold physically are broken down into sort of essentially pots for people. So when a game is sold, say at $50, that money then gets split away to the retailer, licensing, production, and then the publisher. So roughly speaking, game industry standards at this point is 30% to the retailer, 15% to the licensing for the platform that you are on, so be it Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, whatever. 5% is taken then for your production of physical discs, and around 50% of the money, revenue, whatever you want to call it, then goes to the publisher, developer, whatever. Now bear in mind as well that publishers will have their own agreements with developers, so they may not take all of it. Some of that filters down to the developers. There might be some other deals in place as well, and that money could easily get filtered away quite quickly. But for the example here, I wanted to take a very basic approach to it. So with WiseNet, we're going to say they potentially have a publisher. That's it. And the rest of it is just sort of happy days. So in this example, say Shenmue 4 is going to sell for $50, right? You're then going to lose essentially half of that. So $25 of that money is going to go elsewhere, to retailer, to the licensing, to production. So you're then going to take approximately $25 away from that, which, it's not bad, it's all right, but is there more money to be made? That's the question here. So let's compare into digital. And I should have said actually at the top of this, because they would be a third-party publisher, aka like a lot of people are, that's why you incur the licensing fee here. Okay, so then digital, and again third-party. It takes away the production costs with printing discs and licensing for so that's a good chunk of money already gone. 20% that you've lost through physical has then been erased. You don't have to worry about it. So before I dive into an example, let's look at the platform fees that are around. Now the industry standard for platform fees is around 30%. There is some flex for games and indie titles or games that can sell millions of copies, but it's approximately 30% across these platforms. So Steam is 30%, and there's a platform submission fee of about $100. That is one-off. It drops lower for the percentage breakdown if sales are really, really good. Drops to about 20%. Epic's probably the best deal out there. I know people don't like me saying that, but they only take 12% of the revenue made from a game. So that's quite a substantial change from Steam. There's an 18% difference there. So you can see why publishers have started moving over to Epic. Long way to go. The Epic Store has obviously got its own issues, but there's that there. There's also the platform submission fee again. It's $100 one-off. but there's quite a substantial cut to the publisher. PlayStation Store, 30% free to submit. Microsoft, 30%. I don't know if it's free to submit or not. I couldn't really find anything on that. So that's sort of the breakdown of the fees, the money they take, if you like. So let's compare then. Let's bring in Shenmue 4 at this point. So we're going to sell it again for $50. So and the average, we're going to take the average here of the platform fee at 30%. So $50, 30% of that goes to the platform. So that's $15 goes to the platform that you're on. Fine, not a problem. There's then $35 left. But there's nowhere else for that money to go. So you've got no manufacturing, you've got no licensing at this point. So you are then essentially having $35 revenue, which is $10 more than what you would get from a physical sale. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot. And I can see people going to me, but Matt, $10, that ain't that much. When you add that up and you start selling lots of copies of games, and you hit 1 million sales, for example, I'm not saying Shenmue 4 will hit 1 million sales, but just as a round number, that then becomes quite significant. That's a massive amount of revenue lost, and that can be the difference potentially between a game making money or barely breaking even, or not making its money back. So they've got to essentially weigh this up a little bit. There is a revenue stream there that essentially goes straight to them, cutting out retailers and the middlemen. So that's then something that Wisenet, publisher, whoever, probably ought to weigh that up. And I'm saying this, as I said at the top of the video, from somebody who really likes having physical games in their hand. And I'm going to talk about the pitfalls of digital right now. DRM on Steam is a pain in the ass. It's well documented across everywhere, social media, games articles, pain in the bloody neck. What happens if the servers are turned off? What is the contingency plan? Now, Nintendo have done this quite a lot recently on the Wii U. What happened to these games? And you think even on the Xbox 360, there's an Afterburner game on there that you can't get hold of anymore. The Outrun games that were digital, you can't get them anymore. So if you haven't got them on a disc, you can't play them unless you've already got them downloaded to your console. I'm not sure, and someone can correct me on this, whether if you've already purchased it, you can still download it. If you can, great, that's fine. If you can't, that's pretty dodgy, but I don't know. But the fact remains is it's not available for new people to purchase. It's gone. So then game preservation, which is a massively hot topic at the moment, that's in jeopardy. And that's a bigger issue in itself. Well, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole here. The next sort of element, I guess, with it is consumer choice. As I keep saying to people, I prefer physical games. That's what I've brought up on. I'm an old fuck. I'm an old dinosaur who likes these sorts of things, and it's fine. But with PC gaming, it's probably been digital only for at least 10 years. And some would probably argue with me and say it's longer than that, in fact. I mean, Steam went that way a long, long time ago. I remember back when you got Half-Life 2 and it all kicked off because you got a code in a box, essentially. And that was... It caused a lot of people some issues at the time, but now it's accepted. Games consoles seem to be going that way. And I think long-term in gaming, as sad as it is from my point of view, and there's plenty of bigger people out there than me talking about, like John Lilliman for Digital Foundry, they all want physical games, and plenty besides that see this digital future as quite a sad thing. But I think it's the way games are going. And I think with the physical copies of games, you're probably going to find that eventually you'll end up in this sort of quandary, whatever you want to call it, of bespoke physical games being made as sort of limited runs almost. So like strictly limited games, limited run games. To people who do that, they might be the only place that you can get these games physically, which then appeals to a certain bracket of your audience, probably your 30 plus, who were brought up, like me, on physical games. But there is potentially some money to be made here. Now, I am going to caveat this idea with the fact that it can be considered a little bit money grabbing, probably the way to put it. But if it's done in the right way and can entice people the right way, maybe doesn't look quite as bad as maybe it can do. But I'll leave that for you guys to decide and let me know. So specifically, my idea is around collector's editions. So Shenmue has been quite lucky, as you can see. There's been quite a few collector's editions of Shenmue 3 and the 1 and 2 re-releases as well. And they're very, very, very appealing to hardcore fans like myself who will buy these sorts of things. So you could, in theory, generate most of your sales through digital only, and then do limited runs of certain physical items, games, whatever, to generate more money, but also satisfy that physical need and give people that choice. Some people will wait for physical only. I will be, or depending on what happens with like a Dragon Gaiden, I will either wait for the physical copy, or chances are I've got a Japanese one on order because it should have the English in it, so I will import that so I have a physical copy. So I'm one of those people who potentially could wait for games, and Alan Wake 2 is one that I'm going to wait for and see what happens. So there's a portion of your audience out there that would respond to that sort of thing, be it by waiting, or be it because they're collectors and are really into buying that sort of physical stuff like I am. So you can monetize that a little bit. You'd have to then sort of do it in such a way where essentially it's a complete edition with all the DLC, etc., etc. It can be, as I said, considered a little bit shady, maybe. I don't like to use that word. It's quite inflammatory. But lots of gaming companies are shifting to digital and then doing these sort of physical releases afterwards to make money. And I can get it from a business standpoint, but I'm not a fan of it. But let's apply this to Shenmue 4. What would you want in terms of Shenmue 4? It can make potentially more money, more revenue just by going digital only and then having a limited physical run, which then improves the profitability. It could improve the chance of a Shenmue 5. It could be the difference between further games for all we know. So balancing it, it's a no-brainer. Go digital. Go digital. Go digital now. You get more revenue. From a consumer perspective, I'm really torn on this. Really, really torn on this because I want physical games. I want games preservation. Take out the fact that some games now are very much download codes in some respects, which is another issue in itself. So you end up in this halfway dodgy house. And I think, as I said, the way gaming's going, we are going to end up digital only, as much as it pains me to say it, with potential limited physical run games everywhere else. So, guys, obviously, what do you think about this? It's a tricky topic, it's a controversial topic, and it's something that I think would prompt a lot of discussion, not just in the Shenmue community, but in gaming wider. But for Shenmue 4, is it a good idea to go digital only or not? You lose your licensing fees, you lose your manufacturing fees. Could that be the difference? What would you like to see Shenmue 4 do in this situation? What would you like to see WiseNet do in this situation with Shenmue 4? Do you want digital only? Do you want physical? Do you want a combination? Or do you want some sort of collector's edition after a digital release? Let us know in the comments below. Give us a like, share, subscribe on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch. You know exactly where you can find us by now, guys. Thank you for dropping in on all the content as always. And I'll be back with another video in the not too distant future. But for now, guys, take care and have a good one.